Welcome to another episode of Heilman and Haver in the Mix, coming to you from the Bay Street Bistro in beautiful Port Orchard, Washington. I'm Matt Haver.
I'm Greg Heilman.
And today we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of a blockbuster from 1996, Independence Day, for our Independence Day edition.
Yes, what a classic film, and it's one of those genre-changing films that we see. And we'll get more in the film when we talk about trivia, but you know, we've got a cocktail.
Right.
Surprise!
First
surprise.
things first.
We've got a cocktail. This is the Smoked Independence for Independence Day, and
A lot of smoke in the movie.
a lot of smoke.
A lot of exposure.
For sure. A lot of smoke in the movie, and a lot of smoke here in Port Orchard the last couple of days. It's been high 100s into the 110s, I think, on Monday. So we survived that for now, and but let's get into the cocktail. So it's a smoked Independence, and the smoke comes from the use of Scotch in the drink. We had a drink a couple of episodes ago, which was Scotch, and we sweetened it up a little bit to take the edge off the Scotch. This is going to do a similar thing. It's got Scotch, and the more smoky or peaty the Scotch you can get, the better for this one. It's also got Pineapple Rum, pomegranate liqueur. So you can see why we're sweetening this up right away. Simple sugar, we use our simple syrup. We use this a lot in recipes, and what really it is a 1-to-1 ratio of water to sugar.
Okay.
So to make it, you boil up a cup of water, put a cup of sugar in, kind of like if you're making your own hummingbird food, just a different ratio.
Yeah, don't get those confused. Hummingbirds are 4-to-1. It'll hurt their little livers.
Exactly. So
Let's hurt our livers.
Let's hurt our livers. So, and we're going to put some molasses in this too. So this is going to be an interesting mixture. We'll see how it turns out. So let's get the Scotch in here. So we're going to use 1.5 ounces, 1.5 ounces of Scotch per serving.
Now, the peat in the Scotch, do they actually smoke the peat before they use it?
Yeah, so it's put into a room where they do the smoking, and it's pretty much it's an interesting process that when they go out manually into the fields and kind of cut the peat down, and it's all manual. It's if you get a chance to watch a video on the process, I think we were watching an episode of Men with Kilts, I think it is.
Probably.
Two guys from Outlander who go around touring Scotland, and they did an episode where they're at one of the Scotch distilleries in Scotland. They went through the whole process, and it's really fascinating. And different areas of the country have different
varieties
of the peat and things like that, which change the flavor of the Scotch that they distill, which is interesting. So
we'll have kilts on, I'm sure, for one of these episodes one of these days.
Yeah,
Stay tuned.
We'll have to figure out what movie.
We did Braveheart here just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, no kilts there, no blue paint either on our faces.
We'll come up with something.
And we have so we've got lime juice as well. So we're going to freshly squeeze some lime juice in here.
And you can find the recipe in the show notes, and you can go back and watch all of our In the Mixes and get the recipes there as well if you have a favorite. Scotch and pineapple. Yes, not a combo I'd think to try.
No, it almost makes this kind of tropical if you think about it.
Well, it's a good time of the year for a tropical drink.
Yeah.
July 4th. Can usually count on some sunshine, at least where we're at.
It's tiki season.
Yeah.
All right, so then we've got our simple syrup. And of course, because I'm making 2 drinks, I am doubling this up, which is the nice thing about our shaker from Elevated Craft, that we can do that. It's got some extra storage in there for these drinks. Here comes
And built-in measuring, that's nice.
Yes.
And what was that again you're putting in?
This is pomegranate liqueur.
Pomegranate, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm anxious to try this one. I've missed a few of these things.
And here is
molasses, certainly. I've never had that in a drink before.
So 1 bar spoon. 1 bar spoon per drink. Obviously, I'm putting 2 in here.
Ooh, nice save.
Put that in the towel. All right. Oop. Let's give this a nice
slow
little shake
as
here.
molasses, even on a hot day.
All right. Give this a shake and see where we are.
That's my contribution.
All right.
Oh, nice color, nice amber color.
Yeah, it's interesting with the red, the Scotch kind of amber color, and you had the pomegranate liqueur in there. And let's garnish with
All right.
a lime wheel. Oop, get this guy out of the way. All right, here we go.
All right, cheers.
This is the smoked Independence.
Oh, that was very good.
Yeah, and it really does take the edge off the Scotch.
Yeah, absolutely. And pineapple usually overpowering, not in this.
No. Okay. Well, we're going to enjoy these. We're going to move over to some more comfortable accommodations and talk about some movie trivia.
Right on. Happy 4th. And welcome back. Here we are at the beautiful Bay Street Bistro in Port Orchard, Washington. We are downstairs. It's a bit hot, and as you know, heat rises. So we decided to check you guys out again from the ground floor here at the Bistro. Come on down this Sunday. That's the 4th of July. They're going to be open.
Yeah.
So come down and enjoy their delicious Sunday supper and one of these beauties, the smoked Independence, in honor of Independence Day. Obviously the birth of the nation, but also the 1996 blockbuster starring Will Smith and Bill Paxton, Judd Hirsch, Jeff Goldblum, among many others.
Yeah, what an all-star cast.
Big time,
When you look at the film, yeah.
Yeah, so 25th anniversary this year of Independence Day. I guess I would have been, let's see, about 14 when it came out. Perfect movie for a 14-year-old during the summer. And Will Smith, fresh off his 6-year run as the Fresh Prince. And for him, really kicked off a string of about 12 years of films, really blockbusters, all that kind of came out around 4th of July again. Yeah, including Men in Black.
You recognize that. I saw an interview with him one time when he was talking about the luck he had around the 4th of July, because it seemed like everything for a few years was a Will Smith blockbuster over Independence Day. It was, phenomenal track record.
Yeah, so the film itself, again, released on July 3rd, so not on the 4th, but close. And it was directed by Roland Emmerich, and obviously starring Will Smith. We mentioned a few of the others. Robert Loggia makes an appearance. Randy Quaid. Would not have the movie without Randy Quaid. Great part for him. And produced by 20th Century Fox. And it won the Oscar for the best visual effects. And it was one of the last movies to really use a lot of kind of the traditional explosion type effects. I guess CGI was still kind of an emerging science at that time, and they didn't want to take a chance. Yeah,
that's true. And you mentioned, July 3rd. Interesting story around the screenplay and kind of the creation of the film. So it's written by Emmerich and Dean Devlin, who has done a ton of stuff. One of my favorite Dean Devlin products is The Librarians.
Yes.
That whole series, which is really great. But so the two were friends. They both lived in the Hollywood Hills. Both huge science fiction fans of War of the Worlds and things like that. They worked next to a bookstore. Would go buy those kinds of books. I guess they were hanging out one night up at the hills, and Emmerich looked up at the sky and said to Devlin, "Wouldn't that be cool if that whole sky was just the bottom of a huge ship?"
Right.
And then they started, mulling over this idea, presented it to their agent, and their agent said, "You can't do this. Tim Burton's about to come out with Mars Attacks." And they thought, boy, we can't have a serious film come out after a parody. Mars Attacks be kind of a parody. So they set July 4th as a target to have the film come out because they wanted to get it in before Tim Burton's film. And Independence Day was kind of a code name for the film, a placeholder. They figured they'd come up with something later that was better, but it just stuck.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to remember, and easy to remember when it debuted.
Yeah.
So July 3rd, big day, 25 years ago, and really just a great all-around adventure movie. Like you said, great cast. The Devlin and Emmerich actually penned the script in like 4 weeks. So again, to hit that deadline, I'm assuming. And like you said, they both lived in Hollywood, had a lot in common. And didn't they do something with the president's speech?
Yes. So
to tie in with the name of the movie and the time frame.
Yeah. So the president's speech it explains why the movie is called Independence Day eventually, and they moved that up in the production in the production calendar so that everybody could be inspired and understand why it was independence. It's kind of I guess what they call the heart of the film. So they moved that up to get everybody on board with the whole Independence Day concept.
Bill Pullman, just a fantastic role for him, really unforgettable for a guy that you didn't see a lot of. Originally written for Kevin Spacey.
Yes.
And the producers did not feel that he was quote unquote movie star material.
No,
So
they couldn't see him being president of the United States, which is super ironic given
Right.
what
Right.
What
House of
Spacey ended
Cards,
up in
yeah,
some
yeah,
of his
yeah.
roles.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the president's speech that took on more weight than I think that they had planned originally because they needed to use it for the naming and the timing of the release. It was a little bit derivative of Shakespeare's Henry V's speech on St. Crispin's Day, and they needed to come up with something pretty grandiose. It's like, oh, so that's all we have to do is beat the bard at his own game, but they did. It's hard not to get chills listening to that speech.
Yeah, and there was some Robert Kennedy inspiration too when you talk to Emmerich about where he got the idea for the speech and kind of the motivation behind building it.
Interesting because I've heard Independence Day brought up in conversation throughout the COVID experience because again, how do you get everybody on Earth to work together? Well, you give them a common enemy. And obviously COVID represented that for the last 16 months now for everybody on Earth. And it's been interesting, hailing back to that movie because it gave the idea that the entire Earth had pulled together against this one common. Yeah. And it was such an interesting visual, that spaceship that filled the sky. The spaceship was big, and then you see the mothership, and you were able to get that scale.
Yeah,
which I really liked, and it was, I think, very reminiscent of War of the Worlds in a lot of ways. Not necessarily the radio play popularized by Orson Welles, although it did have. There was certainly kind of some homage moments, but the film in 1953, the aliens. Sorry, spoiler alert. They beat the aliens with a computer virus. In 53 movie, they beat them with bacteria, essentially, that the aliens they couldn't jive with, I guess, physically. So, interesting Jeff Goldblum situation in the film. There's a couple movies that he made. He's most popular for, obviously, Independence Day and Jurassic Park, where he played Ian Malcolm. In both movies, he says the line, "Must go faster." You know how he does. And it was actually one of the director, Roland Emmerich, who asked Jeff Goldblum to use that line again because he'd used it in Jurassic Park. Steven Spielberg, not too thrilled. But again, gave Jurassic Park a run for its money in a lot of ways.
And Spielberg, strangely enough, came up to Emmerich and said, this film is going to be something that people are going to copy. It's such a genre-altering film that people are going to take this and they're going to copy it. And to this day, when you look at superhero films and all of these things, you can dotted line those back to Independence Day. Just things blowing up major, buildings and seats of government. It all really kind of started with this film.
Yeah, and it also started things off, like we said, for Will Smith, 12 concurrent years of blockbusters. And the interesting thing about Will Smith and Goldblum, and also Judd Hirsch, who I've really enjoyed watching in Taxi. We've been watching the reruns of Taxi on Hulu, and he's just so talented and so hilarious. A lot of humor in the movie, and a lot of the lines between Goldblum and Smith and also Hirsch were ad-libbed. They don't appear anywhere in the script. And, again, just speaks to the talent of these guys.
Yeah.
Another example of their ad-libbing was, you'll remember when Will Smith's character is dragging the dead alien in the parachute across the desert, and he goes, "And what the hell is that smell?" Not in the script. It's actually because they were filming in the Great Salt Lake, which often is likened to, I think, sulfur is kind of the scent. But he was actually reacting to the stench of the millions of dead, I got to read this, dead and decaying brine shrimp that had sunk below the surface of the lakes, because it's obviously a dry lake. Wow. So pretty gross. But hey, it worked, obviously. And speaking of smell and substances, all the goo secreted by the aliens, personal lubricant, KY jelly. Yeah. A blockbuster that used
But
more
no cocaine budget in this one. I mean,
No
when we
co-
talked
yeah.
about Blues Brothers in our last in the mix, we had the cocaine budget, but here we had the lubricant budget.
Exactly. It was also, it actually, and like we were talking about with the Orson Welles radio show, The War of the Worlds, and then, and the really the uproar that it caused. A lot of people thought it was real. Tuning in, they didn't realize this was a farce. When the production team tested on the light helicopter that represented humankind's welcome wagon to the aliens, it doesn't meet a good end. More than 150 Californians called the police to report UFO sightings. So all that stuff you're seeing on Facebook, maybe it's just a movie being made.
Maybe.
You know, Hollywood's got great technology now. And in Spanish, or in Spanish-speaking countries, the ads in Spanish for the film featured news reports about the gigantic spacecraft hovering over the world's major cities, and it resulted in a small-scale panic, reminiscent of the public's reaction to Orson Welles' War of the Worlds radio broadcast. So it's you know, people want to believe that there is something out there, and so given any opportunity, you know, they're coming for us.
I just remember watching it and thinking, with the effects, it looked, for me, it looked real. You know, when you're blowing up some of these government buildings, it was just amazing. I think when I saw it in the theater when it came out, and it was just on the big screen, just awe-inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. I remember seeing behind-the-scenes stuff about how they built the scale model of the White House. And, a lot of stuff that's really not being done now. They're not building a lot of scale models because everything can be built, virtually. And done with CGI. But again, you can't beat the real deal. No. And you really can tell a difference. And I'm more of a fan of the old school. Yeah. Effects.
And when it's done right, I mean, when it's not done right, and you watch an old movie, it's funny. I mean, it's you can tell the model boat is kind of float.
Yeah. But see the wire on the hands.
When it's done right, it really is something incredible.
Yeah, and it's funny that there was kind of a spate of alien pictures that came out around that time. Mars Attacks, certainly the campy, cheesy. Jack Nicholson as president in that film. And then I think it was the next year, if I'm not mistaken, was Men in Black.
Yeah.
Again, so Will Smith taking on the aliens, but
and
it sure
all the
worked for
sequels
him.
Of that spurned.
Right, exactly.
Spawned, not
Spawned. That's the appropriate title. Yeah. When we're talking about aliens. So, again, Independence Day. If you haven't seen it, please go out and find it online. Find a DVD copy, and it's just a great action flick. It's a great family movie. I think it's got a great message, tons of humor, an all-star cast, and 25 years.
Yeah.
I start feeling a little old. Start thinking of that.
Yeah, we're talking about some of these movies that are things that happened when we were at an age. I mean, Blues Brothers, because that was our last film in the mix, was a little bit older. I don't consider that a film that I necessarily grew up with. Mm-hmm. Independence Day is more of one that I, in my teenage years that I kind of grew up with, and everything subsequent to that. So yeah, when you look at 25 years since Independence Day, you do start to feel a little old.
But these are delicious. And this is the Smoked Independence. They're going to feature this down here at the Bistro on Sunday, July 4th. They are open, which I think is very cool. If you need to come in and have an excellent meal and a cocktail and enjoy being waited on by a great crew down here. Thanks to Brady for always opening the place up for us, and beautiful downtown Port Orchard. And speaking of downtown Port Orchard, for our theater fans out there, you'll be interested to know that Western Washington Center for the Arts, right down here on Bay Street, is opening back up on July 9th. They're going to start with kind of a special, very, very short season. Just kind of a summer season of short plays and short acts. Directed by Christina Jacobson, and those are going to start on July 9th.
And we're going to be there July 10th-ish to do a review of the shows.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, and we'll also be probably next week as well getting ready to introduce our second episode of Get to Know a Theater with Dan Estes, who's a very prominent local director down at WWCA and around the area.
And guest on our second episode?
Yeah. So we're going to get back with Dan and learn a little history of the theater, take a little tour like we did at the Bremerton Community Theater a month ago. Hope everyone's enjoying. Woo. drag central down here in Port Orchard. But don't let it dissuade you. Come on down on Sunday, July 4th, and keep an eye on our show notes for the cocktail recipes, for all the happenings locally, for the theater scene, and we'll keep our finger on the pulse of everything on the big screen as well.
Yes, and don't forget the West Sound Film Festival.
Yes.
Submissions are they're accepting submissions through tomorrow.
I guess it would be.
Well, today is the 29th. We're recording this, so it'll be today when you see this. So if you're an aspiring filmmaker and you haven't submitted to the West Sound Film Festival, you've got a few hours left. But we'll be covering the film festival from the red carpet, interviews with directors and things like that. So that's something we're looking forward to.
And if you're not busy on Saturday, come on out and see Jaws at the Roxy Theater. We're going to be there and hit the stage to open things up at 6:30. And Jeremy Arnold, our friend from TCM, is going to bring another, I think I'm going to say brilliant introduction. All of them have been, and we thank him just for adding a little extra production value to the film. And Jaws is one of those that if you didn't see it on the big screen, and even if you did, that's one meant for the big screen.
Again, when we talk about, we had The Graduate at the Roxy last week, which was a genre-changing film for its time period.
Absolutely, for this late 60s.
Jaws is kind of the first of those 70s blockbusters. So when Spielberg says, hey, you've got a movie that people are going to copy, I think he's onto something. So
yeah, exactly right. And I think it's pretty cool what the Roxy's doing with these movies of the decade. Again, I didn't see Jaws on the big screen, but I'll be there. That's one of those ones you don't want to miss. So Independence Day. Maybe we'll have to take them up on their rental option and rent the theater and watch that one day. That'd be a fun one on the big screen.
That would be good on the big screen to see again. Yep.
Yeah. Well, cheers. Happy birthday, America, and happy 25th birthday to Independence Day.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
All right, cheers.